Hey everybody, welcome back. It's Two Batch Tuesday. So today it's going to be two batches of the blonde ale, which uses 8 pounds of the pale malt 2-row, and it uses 12 ounces of the caramel crystal malt 10L. Then you have Cascade hops, and 1 ounce will go in for a 60-minute boil, and the other ½ ounce will only be in for 3 minutes. This is a really nice beer, very light, great beer for introducing homebrew to people that have never had it before. Now this formula differs a little bit from my other formulas in that usually I have a mash tun time steeping at about 60 minutes. This one is 75 minutes, so it's longer, so my brew day is going to be a little bit longer, but I'm going to knock out 2 batches and try and get that done in a decent amount of time today. And that's going to get me halfway through my brew season, believe it or not. And I have ordered some more ingredients so that I can do a batch of pumpkin ale, which will probably be the very last batch that I do this season, because it's kind of a seasonal beer and it's nice to have around Thanksgiving. And the problem I've got, I make it too early and there's a couple people that really like it, so it'll probably be gone by that time. So let's get started. Okay, all I'm going to do now in the mash tun is add 3.6 gallons of water at 165 degrees. And once we mix the grain in, that should put us at 150 degrees in the mash tun for the 75 minutes, or very close to it anyway. So back when we mash. All right, let's do a little mash in of our grains. Again, always slowly so you don't get dough balls, and gently stir, don't push the grain down into your screen. Now, there are some other things going on today. This would be a great day for a migraine. So once I get done mashing in, I've got 75 minutes to get in and transfer beer from 2 carboys into secondaries. So from the primary to the secondaries, clean the primaries and get them both out here, which really shouldn't be too much of an issue. The dry yeast Kolsch was really interesting. Really, I guess, a moderate fermentation. Usually when I use the liquid Y yeast, that is, I'd call it explosive. But this was pretty mild, so I'm still very curious as to how the flavor will be compared to the Y yeast, so we'll see. So this should sit at 150 for 75 minutes, 150 degrees. Okay, I guess back when we're ready to sparge. Okay, and there we are, right on the head at 150 degrees. So 75 minutes from now, it's going to be sparge time. All right, let's start to get our first wort running down into the brew kettle, into my other pot. To get a clean grain bed going, you want to go very slow and pull all the grain that's sitting beneath your screen out. That ensures that as you start to sparge and you're bringing your wort down into your brew kettle, that you're not going to end up with a bunch of grain floating in your wort as you do your boil. So I had quite a bit of grain coming out at first, and I am not seeing a lot now. So I will let that go probably for probably a quart, and then I'll pour that back into the mash tun, being careful not to drill it down into the grain bed. And then we'll just start the sparge, which should take anywhere from 40 minutes to an hour. Okay, so the object here is to have the same amount of water coming into your mash tun, covering your grains. Be nice to have 1-2 inches of water over your grain bed as you're doing this, but then matching that flow coming in to the flow that's going down into your brew kettle. And remember, you have to take multiple measurements as you go with your refractometer to make sure that you don't get below 1.01 on the scale and start drawing tannins into your brew. So that's it. This process should take somewhere 40, 60 minutes, somewhere in there. And then we'll come back and start the boil. Okay, now we're on the 60-minute boil. 1 ounce Centennial hops for 60 minutes, back in 40 minutes to put in the chiller. Okay, we've got 20 minutes left in the boil. So let's get the chiller in there, and this will sterilize it. You can hear that there's a little water in there from last time, even though I tried my best to clear it. And I don't want that going back in the kettle, so I angle it. And that gets hot very fast. So, all we have now is to throw in our second set of hops with only 3 minutes left in the boil. So back when there's 3 minutes left. Okay, 3 minutes left in the boil. Put in our last set of hops, which is a 1/2 ounce of the Cascade. And it'll be boiled for 3 minutes. I'm terminating the boil, hooking up the chiller, and we'll start cooling this batch off. 1. All right, as you can see, the chiller is going. And I'm mashing in my second batch of blonde ale. All right, that did not take long to chill down, about 20 minutes. And I'm at about 72. So we'll fill this up, and then we'll come back and aerate it, pitch the yeast, and that batch is done. All right, let's put a little oxygen in there, just a little. One step left. Let's get a little yeast in there. I'm just rocking the carboy a little bit so it disperses the yeast better. If I were to just dump it in one lump, you know, probably wouldn't be that great. And of course, once I tote it to the house, it's gonna get moved around in there quite a bit. This is the US-05 yeast. It's the good all-around ale yeast. Okay, that batch is done. And just as a review, the post-boil gravity was supposed to be at 1.046, and it was at 1.049, so that's just fine. All right, I'm waiting on my second mash. So the brew day continues. And this is round 2 of sparging. Okay, the sparge is over. On to our second boil of the day. She boils, the hops will go in. Okay, the boil is just beginning, so 1 ounce Cascade for the whole 60-minute boil. All right, 20 minutes left in the boil. Let's put the chiller in. All right, 3 minutes left in the boil. Put in the last set of hops, 1/2 ounce of Cascade. And the chiller is on, so about 20 minutes from now we'll be dumping into the second primary. All right, we're moving the wort down into the primary. All right, let's aerate this. The foam you see coming off is just sanitizer. I boil this wand to start with during the brew day, and then it goes directly into sanitizer. Let's add the US-05 yeast. All right, a little hillbilly ingenuity here. I actually ran out of bungs halfway through the brewing day. I couldn't find them. I know what happened to them. I had a ton of them before. But my buddy Frank's gonna spot me a couple when he gets home. But in the meantime, this will work just fine. And that's it for pounding out the 2 batches of blonde ale. It's about 2:45 right now, and I started at 6 this morning. So again, it shaves about 2 hours off the day, staging them together as opposed to doing them separate. So anyway, that's it for that. I'll be back in a minute to wrap things up. That's it for the blonde ale. And I think those will probably be the only 2 batches that I do this year. That'd be my guess anyway. Everything on the gravities was almost identical. Beersmith called for a pre-boil gravity of 1.036, and on the first batch I was at a 1.04, and on the second batch a 1.041. Both of the post-boil gravities were 1.049. So that's all good, very consistent. I would expect that those batches will taste and have the same attributes as each other. So I've got 5 batches now in process, and I got to start thinking about how I'm going to stage these out, because I have a trip coming up and I want to make sure that I've got things in a position where I don't have to worry about them. So anyway, that's it until we get together next time and probably brew an amber ale. So until then, I hope you guys have a great week, and we'll see you next time. This has been a Matty Boy presentation. Say bye-bye, Matty. Bye-bye.